The fluorescent lights of the delivery room hum like angry bees trapped against the ceiling. Sweat plastered my hair to my temples, my knuckles white as I crushed my husband Daren's hand. Another contraction ripped through me, a tidal wave of pure, animalistic pressure that stole my breath and turned the world into a blur of pain and blinding white. "Breathe, Karen, breathe," the nurse murmured, her voice a calm anchor in the storm. Daren's face swam above me, etched with what looked like genuine concern, his thumb stroking my wrist. "You're doing amazing, sweetheart. Just a little longer. Sweetheart." The word echoed hollowly in the cavern of my fear and exhaustion. It felt wrong, tainted, like finding a beautiful seashell only to discover it's crawling with maggots underneath. But this wasn't the time. This was about survival, about pushing this tiny, demanding life out of my body and into the world. My son. Our son. Or so I still desperately needed to believe. The agony crested, receded slightly, leaving me gasping, trembling. In the brief, blessed respite, my gaze flickered past Daren's shoulder. There she was, Jenny, my best friend since college, my rock, the one who'd held my hair back during disastrous dates, who'd celebrated my engagement with genuine tears, who'd thrown my baby shower with meticulous, loving care. She was supposed to be my doula, my support person alongside Daren. Her presence was meant to be a comfort. Now it felt like a shard of ice lodged deep in my chest. She stood near the door, her posture unnaturally still, her eyes fixed on Daren. Not on me, writhing in agony, bringing his child into the world. On him. And in that fleeting glance, I saw it again. The look that had started this poisonous seed of doubt growing in my mind months ago. A look that held a history, an intimacy, a secret language that excluded me completely. It wasn't just friendly concern. It was possession, worrying, and something else, something dark and hungry that flickered in her eyes when she thought no one was looking. How could I have been so blind? It started subtly. So subtly I dismissed it as paranoia, the irrational fears of a hormonal pregnant woman. We were at our favorite brunch spot, Jenny and I, around my 5th month. My belly was a proud, undeniable curve beneath my sundress. Jenny was stirring her iced tea, the ice clinking softly. "So," Shed said, her voice light to light, "Daren mentioned you guys are finally getting the new glider for the nursery. The expensive one with the USB port?" She chuckled. Typical Daren, always wanting the touchy version. I paused, a bite of pancake halfway to my mouth. "He mentioned that. When?" Jenny waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, just in passing when I called him last week about fixing my laptop. You know how he is, gets excited about gadgets." She took a sip of tea, avoiding my eyes. "He said you were skeptical about the price." He had said that. But that conversation happened late one night, just the two of us in bed, half asleep. It wasn't the kind of thing Daren usually chatted about with Jenny. He wasn't big on casual phone calls with my friends, especially not about nursery furniture. A tiny alarm bell rang, faint and distant. I pushed it down. "Of course they talk," I reasoned. "Hayes fixing her laptop. Jenna's practically family." But the incidents piled up, tiny grains of sand becoming an irritating mound. Jenny knowing Daren had switched to decaf coffee without me telling her. Her casual reference to the specific brand of protein bars he liked, the ones he only bought from that one specialty store across town. Her hand lingering a fraction, too long on his arm when she laughed at one of his jokes at a barbecue. The way Daren's eyes would sometimes follow her when she left the room, a thoughtful, almost wistful expression on his face that vanished the second he caught me looking. I confronted him once around month 7. My hormones were raging, my back ached constantly, and the sight of Jenny laughing with him in our kitchen while I waddled and feeling like a beach whale had tipped me over the edge. "Is there something going on with you and Jenny?" The words tumbled out, thick with edged tears. We were in the nursery, assembling the crib that didn't have a USB port. Daren froze, a plastic connector piece in his hand. His face registered pure shock, then a carefully constructed mask of hurt. "Karen, what the hell? Janice, your best friend. How could you even think that? He dropped the piece and pulled me into an embrace that felt stiff, rehearsed. Baby, you're stressed. The pregnancy. It's messing with your head. I love you. Only you. Jen is just Jenny. Had been so convincing. Had listed all the reasons it was absurd, their history or lack thereof, according to him, his devotion to me and the baby, Jenny's loyalty as my friend. Had made me feel guilty, irrational, small. He kissed my forehead, wiped my tears, and the seed of doubt, instead of being uprooted, was buried deeper, hidden beneath layers of his reassurances and my own desperate desire to believe my world wasn't crumbling. I tried to talk to Jenny too. A week later, things feel different lately. It ventured cautiously over pedicures. Between you and Daren, Jenna's head snapped up, her eyes wide with an innocence that suddenly looked terrifyingly false. Different? Karen? No. God? No. Daren's great. You know I adore him like a brother. But that's it. You're my sister. I would never. She squeezed my hand, her grip almost painfully tight. You're just feeling vulnerable. It's totally normal. Don't let pregnancy brain invent problems that aren't there. We're solid. All three of us. Her words were a bomb delivered with such earnest conviction. I wanted to believe her. Needed to. So I did. I buried the unease, the nagging feeling that their interactions held a secret weight. I focused on the kicks inside me, on decorating the nursery, on the future. I told myself I was being crazy. A paranoid, hormonal mess. Daren loved me. Jenny was my sister from another mister. They wouldn't. They couldn't. Oh, the naivety. It tastes like ash now. Back in the delivery room, another contraction seized me, fiercer than before. A guttural groan tore from my throat. I can't do this. Yes, you can, Karen. You are doing it. The nurse encouraged firmly. Deep breath. Push with the contraction. I bore down, every muscle straining, the pressure immense, terrifying. Through the haze of pain, I saw Daren lean closer, his face pale. You've got this, sweetheart. Almost there. His voice cracked. Was it fear for me? Or fear of something else? My eyes blurred with sweat and tears. Found Jenny again. She had moved closer, hovering just behind the nurse. Her face was pale too, but her eyes, they weren't on me. They were locked on Daren. And in that moment, stripped bare by agony and stripped of my last illusions by months of subconscious observation, I saw it with horrifying clarity. It wasn't just worrying for him. It was shared terror, shared guilt, a look that screamed of a secret so huge it threatened to consume them both, right here in this room where I was fighting to bring their secret's greatest consequence into the world. Their secret, their consequence. The thought slammed into me with the force of the next contraction. The baby. My beautiful, innocent baby boy fighting his way into this mess. Heads crowning. The doctor announced, her voice sharp with focus. Big push now, Karen. Give me everything you've got. I screamed. A raw, primal sound that came from a place deeper than pain. It was rage, betrayal, heartbreak, and sheer physical exertion all tearing out of me at once. I pushed with everything I had left in my soul, fueled by a white-hot fury it never known existed. There was a sudden release, a slithering, wet sensation, and then a piercing, indignant cry filled the room. A beautiful, angry wail. It's a boy. The doctor proclaimed, lifting a tiny, squirming, blood-streaked miracle onto my chest. Tears flooded my eyes. Overwhelming relief, instant, consuming love for this tiny creature against my skin, warred violently with the poison spreading through my veins. My son. He was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a shock of dark hair plastered to his scalp. He rooted instinctively against me a tiny, seeking mouth. I held him, trembling, breathing in his newness, his purity, while the world around me felt utterly, irrevocably corrupted. Daren was crying, genuine tears streaming down his face as he kissed my forehead, touched the baby's head with trembling reverence. He's perfect, Karen. You were incredible. I love you so much. His words washed over me, meaningless, hollow. I looked past him. Jenny was crying too, her hands clasped over her mouth, her shoulders shaking. But were they tears of joy for me? Or tears of relief that it was over? Or tears for something else entirely? The next hour was a blur of stitching, cleaning, weighing, measuring. My beautiful boy, swaddled tightly, was placed in my arms again. Daren hovered, taking pictures, beaming with pride. Jenny lingered near the window, offering quiet congratulations, fetching water, but maintaining a careful distance. The air in the room was thick with unspoken words, a suffocating tension that the medical staff seemed oblivious to, attributing my quietness and Daren's slightly manic energy to the adrenaline of birth. Finally, the room cleared except for us three. The quiet hum of the hospital settled around us. My son slept peacefully in my arms, a picture of innocence. I couldn't hold it in any longer. The question, the accusation, had been clawing its way up my throat since that look in the delivery room. My voice, when it came, was low, rough, stripped raw. I didn't look at Jenny. I looked straight at Daren, who was gazing down at our son with a soft smile that now looked like a grotesque mask. When? The single word hung in the air, heavy as lead. Daren's head snapped up, confusion flickering across his face. When what, sweetheart? When did he arrive? Just now, you know that. He forced a chuckle, but it died in his throat when he saw my expression. Jenny froze near the window, her back stiff. When I repeated, my voice gaining a fraction of strength, fueled by the sleeping weight in my arms, did you start sleeping with Jenny? The words, spoken aloud, were obscene in this room with this tiny new life present. Daren's face went chalk white. He recoiled as if struck. Karen, what are you? No. How can you even? His denial sputtered out, weak and unconvincing against the granite wall of my certainty. Jenny whirled around, her face a mask of shock and indignation. Karen, stop it. That's insane. You're exhausted. You're hormonal. You don't know what you're saying. Her voice was high-pitched, strained. I finally shifted my gaze to her. My best friend. The betrayal cut deeper than Daren's. It was a double-edged sword plunged into my heart. Don't, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Don't lie to me. Not now. Not here. Not after this. I looked down at my son. I saw you, both of you, in the delivery room. The way you looked at each other. It wasn't about me. It was about you. Silence descended, thick and suffocating. Daren stared at me, his mouth opening and closing soundlessly, the color draining further from his face. Jenna's carefully constructed facade of innocence cracked. Her eyes darted to Daren, a silent plea for guidance, for damage control. Karen, Daren began, taking a hesitant step towards the bed. Tell me the truth, I whispered, the calm shattering, my voice breaking on a sob. Or I swear to God, I will scream this hospital down. Tell me when you betrayed me. When you betrayed him. I held my son tighter. Daren flinched as if it physically struck him. He ran a trembling hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes, avoiding Jenna's desperate stare. He looked trapped, cornered. The charade was over. It wasn't, he stammered, his voice barely audible. It wasn't planned. It just happened. When? The word was a lash. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing convulsively. He stared at the floor. The night you were admitted. For the induction. The words landed like a physical blow. The air left my lungs. I remembered. The nervous excitement, the fear, the overwhelming sense of impending change. It'd been admitted in the evening. They'd started the Cervidil. Daren had stayed for a few hours, holding my hand, trying to be reassuring. Then, around midnight, the contractions were mild, just starting. Head looked exhausted, stressed. It told him to go home, get some real sleep in our bed, shower, change. It told him Jenny would stay with me until things got more intense. Had kissed my forehead, promised to be back first thing in the morning. Jenny had settled into the uncomfortable recliner next to my bed, promising to watch over me. Had gone home. To our home. Our bed. My voice was a strangled whisper. You went home and you with her. My eyes snapped to Jenny, who was now crying silently, tears streaming down her face, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. While I was here, in labor, with your child. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of it. The cruelty. The absolute desecration of everything sacred. He had just cheated. Had cheated while I was in the hospital preparing to give birth to his son. And the woman had chosen was the one I trusted most in the world, sitting vigil beside me. Am sorry, Daren choked out, tears finally spilling over. And so sorry, Karen. It was a mistake. A horrible, stupid, drunken mistake. I was scared, stressed out of my mind about the baby, about everything. Jenny came over. She said she needed to pick up the overnight bag she had left for you. We had a drink, too many drinks, and it just happened. Once. Just that once. I swear to God. Once? The word tasted like bile. How long has this been going on? I gestured between him and Jenny, who flinched. The looks, the knowing things, the private conversations. Daren looked confused, genuinely bewildered. What? No. Karen, I swear, it was only that one night. Before that, nothing. Janice, your best friend. I've always just seen her as your friend. His denial rang with a sincerity that threw me. It contradicted everything my gut had been screaming for months. The intimacy I'd sensed it felt older, deeper than a single drunken mistake. It felt foundational. I looked at Jenny. Her face was a mess of tears, but beneath the distress, there was something else. A flicker of defiance. Resignation? A terrible knowing. Jenny. My voice was ice. Is that true? One drunken mistake. Jenny wiped her face with the back of her hand, taking a shaky breath. She didn't look at Daren. She looked at me, and her eyes held a terrifying emptiness. It was a mistake, Karen. A terrible, unforgivable mistake. We were both scared, emotional. It didn't mean anything. I love you. It was the same script, the same rehearsed lines, but it didn't fit. The puzzle pieces were there, but they weren't connecting. The profound sense of betrayal I felt wasn't just about one night. It was about a history I hadn't been privy to, a connection that predated me. The way she looked at him, it wasn't the look of someone who'd made a drunken error. It was the look of someone who knew him intimately, knew him in ways I suddenly realized I might not. A memory surfaced, sharp and sudden, from early in my relationship with Daren. We'd been dating maybe 6 months. We were at a party, and someone had mentioned Jenny. Daren had gone very still, his smile fixed. Jenny. Oh, yeah, I think I met her once briefly, had said, dismissively. It thought nothing of it. Why would I? Jenny had never mentioned knowing him before I introduced them. She had acted like it was the first time. Oh, you're Daren. Karen's told me so much about you. She had gushed, extending her hand with a bright, unfamiliar smile. But now the pieces clicked into a horrifying picture. The dismissal. Her overly enthusiastic greeting masking what? Recognition. History. My blood ran cold. A deeper, more insidious truth began to dawn, more devastating than the infidelity itself. It couldn't be. It was too cruel, too monstrous. How do you know each other? I asked, my voice trembling with a new kind of dread. Really? Before me? How do you really know each other? The silence this time was absolute, deafening. The only sound was the soft, rhythmic puff of my sleeping son's breath against my chest. Daren looked stricken, frozen. Jenny closed her eyes, a single tear tracking through her makeup. Jenny. I pressed, the name a curse on my lips. Tell me. She opened her eyes. They met mine, filled with a terrible, pitying sorrow. And in that moment, I knew. Before she even spoke the words, I knew. The foundation of my entire adult life, my marriage, my closest friendship was built on quicksand. Karen Jenna's voice was a broken whisper. She took a shuddering breath, her gaze dropping to the floor. Daren and we dated. In college. For almost 2 years. The words landed not with a crash, but with the sickening, final thud of a tombstone sealing shut. The world tilted. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder. The antiseptic smell choked me. 2 years. 2 years. Before me. A serious relationship. And neither of them had ever mentioned it. Not once. In all the years of friendship, through my entire relationship and marriage to Daren, through my pregnancy silence. You what? Daren's voice was strangled, disbelieving. He stared at Jenny as if seeing her for the first time. We agreed we promised never to tell her. Jenny flinched but met his gaze with a desperate intensity. It's over, Daren. Don't you see? It's all out now. She deserves to know the truth. The whole truth. The whole truth. I echoed, my voice hollow, detached. My arms tightened instinctively around my son, my only anchor in this sudden, catastrophic landslide. What whole truth? Jenny turned back to me, tears flowing freely again. But her voice was surprisingly steady, laced with a bitter resignation. It wasn't just college, Karen. We broke up badly. Messy. I moved away for grad school. We lost touch. Years later, I moved back. I met you at that yoga class. We clicked instantly. You were amazing. My lifeline in a new city. Her voice cracked. Then you started talking about this amazing guy you were seeing. Daren. My Daren. The possessive pronoun hung in the air, poisonous. I didn't know it was him at first. She continued, her words tumbling out now, a confession long dammed up. Not until you showed me a picture. My heart stopped. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I thought about telling you, but I was scared. Scared you'd hate me. Scared you'd choose him and it'd lose my best friend. And I still had feelings. Stupid, residual feelings I thought were dead. She looked at Daren, her expression a mixture of longing and accusation. When I met him again, at your apartment, he looked just as shocked. We talked privately later. He begged me not to tell you. He said it would ruin everything. He said you were the best thing that ever happened to him, and our past didn't matter. He said it was ancient history. He made me promise, swear never to tell you. The layers of deception unfolded like a grotesque flower. They'd known. From the very first moment I introduced them, they'd known. And they'd conspired. For years. They'd shared a secret past, a secret agreement, right under my nose, while I poured my heart out to Jenny about Daren, while I planned my wedding with her, while I shared the joy of my pregnancy with her. Every laugh, every tear, every confidence shared with Jenny, it had all been filtered through this enormous, unspoken lie. Daren looked shattered. Jenny, why? Why now? Because it wasn't just one drunken mistake. Jenny cried, her composure finally breaking. Because seeing you with her, building this life, it killed me. Loving her like a sister while loving you, hating you, it tore me apart. That night when he came home, I went over because I was worried about you, Karen. But seeing him there, in your space, stressed, vulnerable, all those old feelings, they just flooded back. And he didn't push me away. She looked at Daren, her eyes blazing with a mix of pain and fury. He never pushed me away. Not really. Not deep down. There was always this tension, this history. And that night it wasn't just booze. It was years of pretending, years of lying. To her, to ourselves. The final piece. The drunken hookup wasn't an aberration. It was the inevitable eruption of a lie they'd both nurtured, a connection they'd never truly severed, simmering beneath the surface of my carefully constructed life. I looked at Daren, the man I loved, the father of my child. His face was a mask of horror and guilt, but beneath it, I thought now the shadow of that other life, that other love had hidden from me. He hadn't just cheated, had brought his unresolved past, his ex-girlfriend, into the sanctum of our marriage, disguised as my best friend, had let her hold my hair back while I vomited from morning sickness, had let her feel my baby kick, had let her stand beside me as I vowed to love him forever. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It wasn't just emotional. It was existential. They had stolen my reality. They had made a fool of me for years. My marriage, my friendship, both were grotesque parodies built on a foundation of deliberate, malicious deceit. The love I'd felt for both of them curdled instantly into something cold and hard and utterly consuming. Nausea rose, sharp and acidic, burning my throat. I clutched my son, his warmth the only thing keeping me tethered to the earth. He whimpered softly in his sleep, disturbed by the tension, by the seismic shift in the universe contained within this sterile hospital room. Daren took a step towards the bed, his hand outstretched, pleading. "Karen, please, I love you. I love him." He gestured to our son. "We can fix this. We can get past this. I'll do anything, get out." The words were barely audible, scraped raw from the ruins of my soul. He froze. What get out? I looked at him, my eyes devoid of anything but ice. "Both of you. Get out of this room. Get out of my sight. Get out of my life. Karen, you can't be serious." Jenny cried, stepping forward. "You need help. You just had a baby. We need to talk about this." Talk? A harsh, mirthless laugh escaped me, startling even myself. It sounded alien, broken. "There is nothing left to talk about. You stole my husband. You stole my best friend. You stole years of my life. You lied to me every single day. You looked me in the eye and called me sister while freaking my husband in my bed while I was in labor. And you." I turned my glacial gaze back to Daren. "You lied from the very beginning. You hid her. You made her your dirty secret and my trusted confidant. You let her into the most sacred moments of our life. You betrayed me in ways I didn't even know were possible." I took a shuddering breath, holding my son tighter, drawing strength from his tiny, perfect existence. "The only truth I want from either of you now is the sound of the door closing behind you. Get out, now, or I will scream." Daren stared at me, his face crumbling, tears streaming freely. He looked utterly lost, shattered. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He looked at Jenny, a silent communication passing between them, shared devastation, shared ruin. Jenna's shoulders slumped, defeated. She wiped her face one last time, casting a final, agonized look at me, then at the baby, before turning and walking silently towards the door. She didn't look back. Daren lingered for a second longer, his eyes fixed on our son. "Karen, please haze my son to right now," I whispered, my voice trembling but resolute. "Haze mine. And you lost the right to be near him when you crawled into bed with her. Get out." He flinched as if physically struck. His hand dropped. He took one last, longing look at the baby, then at me. His eyes filled with a despair so deep it was almost pitiable. Almost. Then, shoulders slumped, the picture of utter defeat, he turned and followed Jenny out. The door clicked shut behind them with a horrifying finality. Silence. Profound, absolute silence. Broken only by the soft hum of the hospital and the gentle, rhythmic breathing of my son against my chest. The room felt vast, empty, and yet suffocatingly full of the ghosts of their betrayal, the echoes of their lies. The antiseptic smell couldn't mask the lingering scent of their deceit. I looked down at my baby boy. His tiny face was peaceful in sleep, oblivious to the nuclear winter that had just descended upon his life. A fresh wave of tears, hot and silent, streamed down my face, dripping onto the soft blanket wrapped around him. Not tears of pain from the birth, not tears of joy. These were tears of pure, unadulterated grief. Grief for the marriage I thought I had. Grief for the friendship I cherished. Grief for the innocence it lost. Grief for the shattered future it so carefully planned. I traced the curve of his perfect cheek with a trembling finger. The love I felt for him was a fierce, primal thing. a supernova erupting in the desolate landscape of my heart. It was the only thing left and tainted. The only thing that felt real. "It's just you and me now, little man," I whispered, my voice thick with tears. "Just you and me." I pressed a kiss to his forehead, breathing in his sweet, milky scent, the only anchor in a world that had just capsized. The battle to bring him into the world was over. A new, far more brutal battle had just begun. The battle to rebuild a life from the radioactive ashes of the one that just ended. Holding him close, feeling his tiny heartbeat against mine, I knew I would fight. For him. For the truth, however ugly it was. For the future, however uncertain. The woman who walked into this hospital trusting her husband and her best friend was gone. In her place was someone harder, colder, forged in the fire of ultimate betrayal. The journey ahead was dark, terrifying, and utterly alone. But I held my son, my tiny, perfect reason to keep breathing and face the desolate horizon. The first, hardest step was simply surviving the next minute, then the next. One breath, one heartbeat, one shattered piece at a time.